and then I'll turn you on shortly. All right. Yeah, you just heard. I'm going to turn them on shortly. Howdy, folks. I'm Cody with IronVerse Comics. We're doing an IronVerse Comics interviews today. I am so far behind on these. It's been forever. I've had some scheduled that didn't come up. I've had a lot of trouble getting these together, but not today. Today, I am so excited to present to you Laguna Munta and his second home studio album. uh, Chuck, I'm so excited for this. It's going live on Kickstarter January 27th. And let me go ahead and make sure he can speak here. And there you go. How you doing, Laguna?
I'm doing well. How's everybody doing today? Thanks for joining us. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this album.
All right. Looks like the levels are good even. I might need to turn you down a smidge, just a smidge. You got a better mic than me. All right. So that looks like that's good. Let me take off this standby. We're no longer standing by, folks. We are in it. So, thank you all for joining us. I'm hoping this will be fun, informative, and give a little bit of crossover between independent art. We're needing it these days more than ever. And so, Laguna, how'd this album come to be? What it's about? Why do you do your music? And just deep dive into this. People want to know that the core of the inspiration. People want to know where you come from, so they can maybe empathize with that and hopefully be inspired.
Well, this is the most personal and in-depth and vulnerable I've ever been with any kind of art that I've ever created. This story that takes place in the album Chuck is like I said, it's a very personal one, and it's an artistic expression of a lot of sorrow and just some bad times and some hard times and some challenges that I've had to overcome in my life, along with my family. It's strongly a question, or it's strongly a story about losing a loved one and kind of having to deal with that and moving on in your life and trying to continue to be the person you want to be, do the things you want to do. And it's also kind of an exploration of and love and the connection between people, and it's also got a bigger fantastic kind of sci-fi element to it.
Ooh,
But
I like those.
yeah, I mean, predominantly it's the story of Chuck, my astronaut character, who is setting out on a mission into space. And something goes wrong after launch, and he's lost. They're not going to be able to retrieve him. He's lost in space, and the people back on Earth kind of have to move on. And this is basically an allegory or metaphor for me and my family when we lost my father in 2015, and kind of how we had to deal with that and kind of try to move forward. And I think that's something well, eventually everybody will have to deal with and can empathize with.
I think so too. Now I've heard the album in entirety, and it broke me. We shared quite a lot that year. That was a very tough year, and you know, the amount of beauty that you were able to collect and gather into one artistic expression was just absolutely mind blowing to me. I really hope folks will take the time and engage with you and engage with your work. I know you've been up on YouTube for a while, so if anybody's listening here, go check out Laguna Munta on YouTube. You can see some backlog of all kinds of content he's put up there, from speaking about his guitars to musical influences to quite a few of his other wonderful tracks from previous attempts and works. And yeah, man, um, I think the indie music scene needs more chutzpah. It needs a little bit more balls behind it, a little bit more push, because right now, corporate music, it's very hard to find any soul to. Corporate art, period, it's very hard. It's there in a lot of places, but the artists and creators have had to really fight for it. And in indie,
Mhm.
there's no weight on top of you like that. the only weight is the weight of being by yourself and pushing this idea, and that's quite a
Yeah.
weight, no question. But it's an important one. I think if we could all bear more and be able to push forward, we'd all be better off. We'd be able to communicate better. We'd hear things more, and we'd be more open and kind. And
Yeah,
this, yeah, go for it.
sorry.
No, no, no.
Doing the indie artwork is it's a double-edged sword because while you do have all this freedom to do whatever you want, you also have to be the suits. You have to be that guy calling yourself and saying, "Where's the album, man? You know, where's the work?" You know, you have
Mhm.
to police yourself. And honestly, that's the most difficult part because some days you get up and you're just not feeling that artistic or creative, but you still have to say, "All right, man, well, that doesn't matter. You still have to get some work done, so get to it." And
Yeah.
so that's the double-edged sword is you gotta push yourself and really make it happen.
Yep.
But the freedom is great. I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way out because this Chuck album, compared to the first album I released, if I was with a company or something, they'd be like, "What the hell are you doing, man? This is nothing like the first album. This is not going to sell. You know, this is not a clone of the first album." And I'm like, "Well, that's,
It's not what we
that's
expect
what I
from you.
needed to do."
Yeah. Well,
Exactly. Yeah. So
uh,
that's part of it too is I need to maintain freedom and it's just what I wanted to do and what I needed to do. And it's also kind of let people know that I will be free and I will do what I want to do musically. And I hope that they'll join me for that.
that's the bit. These chains that are in so many parts of society, um, are important in a lot of ways. Like you said, it's what makes the gears move. It's what gets you up and doing that. You know, when you can do it to yourself, that's called discipline. And we all need more of that, and we need less huge parental figures with heavy hands on top of us making us do it. And I'm always happy to see folks taking that power into their own hands and then not letting themselves down when they take that power, not becoming complacent or well, I'll just do it tomorrow. You can't do that. And
I mean,
you've been pushing for this for yourself musically as long as I've known you, basically, and it's wonderful to see the fruits of your labor. I'm very proud to share in them. And here in a couple minutes, or whenever you feel like, I would love to share some of those fruits with the audience that's watching.
yeah, I'm definitely, yeah. And just to say, I am very excited to see the fruits of my labor because I came up with the idea a couple years ago, shortly after I released the first album, and I toyed with it and I went back and forth. There's a completely different iteration of the story that has never come to life. That it's a totally different take. It could be a different story. It could still exist in this world, but it's a story that never came to fruition. And I finally came up with the story portrayed in Chuck, and I was like, okay, how do I execute this? And it was kind of like some of my heroes of like old movies and practical effects. It's like, okay, well, I've never done something like this before. How am I going to do it? So it was a great growing and learning experience
Mm,
for me because I had to create something completely different from anything I've created before. I enlisted a lot of friends and family to lend their voice to the album because for a lot of people who aren't familiar with the Chuck project so far, it's a concept album. It's a cinematic album. So while there is plenty of music to be heard on the album, there's also a lot of character driven story pieces where it sounds like you're listening to a movie. And that was my intention for the album to play like a movie. So there are moments where there are characters talking, pushing the story forward. And a lot of that's accentuated by the music. So it's a lot. A lot
yeah.
went into it.
Oh yeah, and you can feel it when you're listening to the album in one go, as I did. Again, it's a concept album, so there are singles within it, and we're gonna hear at least one today. I think we might hear a couple. And those will be self-contained enough that they have a good expression, and they certainly are. Oh yeah, it's got a single feel to it. It can be listened by itself. But the greater context of the work is what got me in the end. And I think it's very much worth people's time. It's a good album to have in the background while you're working. It's a good album to sit back and let yourself feel for a little bit. There's no it's not an embrace of escapism as much as it is an embrace of life and what that means. And that really got to me. I was very, again, very happy to share it with you folks. You think maybe, let me see, I'm thinking of pulling up the single that we're going to share today called B and sharing it with you folks. What do you think, Laguna?
Let's do it. Yeah,
All right.
yeah, just do it. Let it speak for itself. I won't even
Yeah,
say
let's do
anything.
that, and then then we could talk about it. That'll give us something to do. So
I
let me
like
pull
that.
that up. Let me pull it up, and then we'll go from there. Again, folks, he does have a YouTube channel. He linked it in the description. You can listen to it on your own time later if you'd like, or as much as you want. It's up there for free, for goodness sake. But right now, we're gonna check it out. So let me see if I can pull that up easy peasy, which I think I can. I just gotta make sure it's
And feel
not.
free to throw any questions you may have for us in the chat. I'd love to answer
Absolutely.
questions.
Oh, it says we got 12, 11, 12, 13 people, so it's fluctuating, but we do have a bigger audience than usual. I'm so grateful for that. Thank you folks for showing your support for indie artistic efforts. Means the world
Thank
to
you.
me, and yeah, and of course to Laguna here. So here we go. Display capture. Yeah, you'll see this goofiness. But here it is on his channel again. Go and sub. 91 subs. Get this guy to 100. Only 9 of you folks have to sub, and he's there. And then he's a tenth of the way to monetization. That would be excellent. I'd love to see that by the end of the stream. You folks can make it happen. But here is B. It's a lyric video too, so if you want to read as well in case are bored today or need a distraction, this is a good one. This is a very good one. So I'm going to go ahead and mute us here in a second, and you folks just simply be.
It's alright. We're here for you. Seem lonely. Follow the light, it's made for two. No longer will you feel the pain of death. You're stronger. Truth is sealed with this caress. Take your name, bear it on your heart. Wake, you've changed. Be aware it's time to start. Be your own. Fly where you must go. goodbye to the one you've known. Be, simply be, yeah. Be, simply be, yeah. Be your own, or be what you know. Be free, or be just like me. Be, simply be. The last solo mission into space.
On the Brand 1976.
Godspeed. Be careful out there. Be your own, or be what you know. Be free, or be what they want you to be. Be, simply be.
Alrighty, folks. Let us know what you think in chat, huh? Give a good old round of applause for that wonderful little piece of music.
I gotta say that was that's kind of a
Heyo. We lost our
oh
guest there for
sorry.
a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had a mix up here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. No, you're good.
Oh, what I was gonna say was that was. I mean, honestly, that's that's the most people I've listened to this song with, like live, and actually been able to. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
I know that's another one. You know, I want to talk about this track and kind of what was the impetus and you know what you were trying to drive at, but also that brought up another point is I've noticed, and I'm sure a lot of other folks have noticed, the massive swing that independent music has taken to the face over this whole situation with not being able to play live. And you are a wonderful live performer. I've been very blessed to see you quite a few times in your element, and so that's a thing. I mean, that's saying something, folks. Is you know, thank you for joining us, for listening, and for supporting
Yeah,
the work.
it's a lot.
Because
I
right
like
now, this is the way we have to do it.
yeah, and yeah. So yeah, it's. I got kind of a little emotional there, thinking, wow, I'm actually finally getting to share this with some people live and to kind of experience it with them. And because up until now, you know, I've listened to it with my girlfriend, and you know, I've sent it to people to listen to, but I actually haven't had the opportunity to sit and share it with people. So well, I totally wrecked that.
No. I mean, you gotta be ready to sit when you're shitting. But no,
Course.
it's an
Yeah.
absolute, you know, sharing art is. I mean, a lot of times the reason for art is to express something, maybe even just to yourself, to get it out to yourself. But when it can be shared and that empathy and that engagement can happen in any form, it changes that art into something so much more.
Oh, totally. And I feel that that's the power of art, because art in a vacuum does nothing.
It really doesn't. It's hard, again, like I say, it's hard for it to be in a vacuum because you got the creator. But nonetheless, it's that extra dimension when it's shared, when it's acknowledged on different levels through different consciousnesses, through different people. It again, it becomes more, and it's a wonderful thing to see. And that's why I'm such a staunch supporter of independent art, however I can, because there's so many voices out there that are not heard that would bring so much joy and beauty and just perspective to everyone. And when that is controlled and is funneled, because that's the easy way or the conceived only way, then it loses some of that potential magic. And
Oh yeah.
we need as much potential magic as possible these
And
days.
and on the subject of magic, let me go
Yeah.
into that because a big part of the reason why I am doing a Kickstarter for this and specifically pushing very hard to produce CDs and get CDs in people's hands is because I believe that that is where the magic is. I believe it's in the physical copies. I believe it's having it in your hand, looking at the artwork while you're listening to the music. That's how I want to experience things. I want to own my movies. I want to own my books. I want them there in my hands. And that's a big part of the reason why I'm pushing for this because I feel that Chuck is too important to me and I think it deserves more than just, "Hey, I'm putting my album online and you can download the tracks." I just that does it it does nothing for me and it really does not serve the art, in my opinion. I feel like you have to have the CD, and if digital's your thing, that's an option, but I'm really pushing the physical.
No, and that's what I found too, particularly in comics. In Funny the Comics, is that it's about a 95% of readers want that physical copy.
Yeah.
There's an attachment and engagement there that's not there when it's on something else's platform, when you're simply borrowing it. It's a very different feel. And I've noticed that's the only way. When I've ran campaigns before that were digital only, they do not go anywhere. Simply because it that's not where the passion is. It's not where the desire is. At least in independent art, again, when it's pushing itself to not be controlled, that's another aspect of it that it's kind of got to shake the shackles off of and say, well, here
Well,
you go. This is yours.
and for me, I think things lose they lose their magic and what makes them special if they're just in digital form. Like I talked because I work at a video store. For people who don't know, I work at a video store. Believe that or believe it or not, and I live in the same year you do.
They are still
So
around, folks. They are still
I
around.
so and honestly, a lot of people talk about this. The magic is coming in, talking to people, picking the movie you want, having it in your hand and taking it home. I've looked on streaming services, I've used them. You sit there for hours fanning through page upon page of crap, and then eventually you just don't watch anything. You spend your whole time looking, and it's
Yeah.
because it's not special anymore. I feel like
No.
it loses it, and I think that's just something that's always gonna be a part of me. I will always buy my DVDs and CDs. That's how I want it, and that's how I think Chuck should be because it's special. It's special and unique, and I think it deserves that treatment.
I think so too. And again, it's that personal connection. That's your copy. It's not some copy on somebody's server that eventually they'll run out of the license and it'll go away. It's your copy. You have that. As long as you have the means to play it, it is yours.
Yes,
And even if
and
you
that's what I
don't have
want
the
for people.
means, it's yours. You know,
Yeah, that's what I want
it's
for people.
yeah. Um, Michelle here says she agrees. She especially wants the copy for the art and also for the lyrics. Are you
Well,
including so? Are you doing a lyrics book with the physical release?
I am not.
Okay.
So
Well,
I'm
you and
sorry
I
to
can
say
talk
that,
about
but I
that
can
to see if there's any possibility in a future printing or something, because
I
that
can easily
shouldn't.
post lyrics to where
Yeah,
people can get them. That's no problem. If people really
yeah,
want them, I can make those available.
that's true.
But
That's true. Very
but
easy.
for the CD, I'm going very simple with the design. It's gonna be, the slip case, this front and back CD
Uh-huh.
slides in. It's just, it's not the plastic cases that are gonna break on you, and it's
Yeah,
a cost-effective means, thus they can
yeah.
keep the campaign budget low and also give some people something nice.
Oh, all right. I don't think we can't take a look at the campaign yet. It's not live, folks. But what we can do is I believe earlier in chat it was linked where you can go, but I can show you kind of what's coming up here. At some point, maybe I'll get back with Laguna when it's live, and then we'll go through the tiers and talk about the campaign itself and the goals and all of that. I think that would be pretty useful. But at the end of the day, there's no harm in any of you going here and signing up. I know Kickstarter's not everybody's favorite platform. Let me go ahead and bring this up, however, so folks know. There we go. But at the end of the day, it's one of only about two options, and you don't have much choice. Neither of them is really better than the other. It's just different audiences. So
And real quick,
yeah.
let me talk about this tagline.
Oh, there you go.
So I got that from my mom because
Oh.
she sat and listened to the album, and I didn't give her any pretenses. I didn't say anything about it. She knew about, Chuck was happening, but I didn't tell her what the story was or what it, was supposed to mean or anything. And I sent her the album. She listened to it, and she talked about how it actually took her on like a visual journey. And that's exactly what I want from people. And everybody's imagination is so unique and fantastic that Chuck is a cosmic highway to wherever you want to go. So if you sit back and listen to this album, it's going to take you wherever you want to go. It's I have a story, I have an idea of what the story is, but it's not so rigid and it's not so, strictly constructed that you guys cannot interpret it for yourself and make it your own.
Excellent. I mean, that's again that filter, that communication to the audience, and communication, not a heavy-handed. When you're watching this is what you should think. That's very important to me.
I
What I
don't want
think,
that.
yeah, what I'm thinking is I would like to show your trailer, your album trailer. So let me go
Yeah, let's
ahead.
do that.
Yeah, I loved it. I
Let's-
loved it. I loved it. So let me see if I
Well,
can make that
well,
easy
shout
on
out
me.
to Dean Montavon because
All
I
right.
had created a video and Dean saw it and he goes, "Well, you can do better than that." And then I made the video you guys are about to see, and Dean was like, "Yeah, that's what I'm talking about." Something like that.
All
So
right.
thanks for and that goes for all my friends and family who helped push and make Chuck happen. I have a lot of people to thank, and I will thank them more specifically here in a minute.
Alrighty, so here's the album trailer. We're gonna shut up for a little bit and let you guys be sold on this excellent piece of music that's coming up.
The track in the
January
trailer will
27th.
be on the album.
There you go. Yeah. If you guys like, what would you describe your kind of your genre through this? I know it's very loose. It's not a very genre specific piece, but if
It's
folks
not.
are looking for a vibe of music that maybe they can think of this as when they're going through it.
Through the album, I would say cinematic, atmospheric.
All right, thematic, atmospheric. I'd still call it rock and roll,
But
personally.
still rock and roll to me.
Exactly. So here it is, Chuck album, the trailer, January 27th on Kickstarter. You can go ahead and sign up now to be alerted when it launches, and be there, support independent art. And we'll be right back with you. Apologies there on the music cut. That was my bad. That was some technical difficulties. I was trying to mute something else to make sure that there was no interruption. Instead, I became the interruption. I became what I desired to fight. No, but you know what? Use that as a teaser. You folks can go in and finish the track by yourself. Laguna Munta on YouTube, right there, free. He's got 2 of the tracks. Here's another called Launch and Lost from the album. Please go check it out. Sub, again, I would love to see him hit that 100 subscribers by the end of the stream. But if not, I still want to see him hit that 100 subscribers. That'd be absolutely killer. So, yeah. Now, I wanted to talk about B a little bit and what was the feeling for that. But I don't know. Do you feel the time has passed and we should wait? Or do you think we can still talk about that? Yeah, I'm very curious.
I don't want to give away too much, but
There you go.
well, let's. What was your take on it, Cody? Let's start there.
Well, for me, it's
Honestly,
it's a release track.
It's more important how the audience responds. Right?
It's true, but we got to make you feel important too. It's just all part of shilling. It's a big ego thing, but it's how it works. But nonetheless, for me, it was a release track. It was things aren't great, but have they ever been? Just again, simply be, breathe, live, move forward, learn and grow. That's kind of what I took it as. Again, it was if I had to describe one word, it was a release. It was a release. That's what I would describe it as.
You're totally right. I mean, I gotta say, it's the song. It's like it represents the beginning and the end of existence, and it's kind of I don't know. Honestly, I feel like, I mean, the whole message of just be and without any constraints and not putting anything else, no restrictions or other parameters on existence. It's how people should treat their children.
Apologies for my
You
bot.
know?
I think I'm gonna cut off this bot. It keeps doing more harm than good in this stream. Apologies, folks. I'll go ahead and turn that
But
off.
if every parent could turn to their child and just say, simply be, be your own, or be what you've known, be free, or be what they want you to be. It's basically telling people, or whoever, to exist in the way that they need to exist, and to be free and be themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
It's much more than that. I don't want to tell you too much, but that's in the context of the story. It's much more. But
And
as a song, that's a big part of the message.
And again, in the context of the story, this album I can't understate any much more that or can't overstate that it is best consumed as a piece, a single piece. But that doesn't mean there's not great tracks like we just heard. And
if you guys do back the album, if you do get it in any form, I ask it after asking so much of you, asking you to back the campaign and everything. I do ask that if you can, please consider taking the time to sit back, put on your headphones, close your eyes, and experience the album. Because when I was a teenager and I bought Rush's 2112, my dad, my biggest hero, and a big part of Chuck, he told me, sit back, put your headphones on in your bed, and listen to it. Close your eyes. He said that's the only way to do it. And not 2112 is not a direct inspiration on Chuck. Neither is The Wall, but those are 2 of my favorite concept albums. And I think if you sit back and actually experience those in that way, you're going to get so much more. And that's what I intended for Chuck. So please.
If you need a breather, if you need a few moments, there's a lot of good that can come out of supporting that. Now, I don't know if we lost our guest here for a second there. I did hear his audio go down for a minute. But
did you lose me?
Maybe for a second, but it was relatively natural. So just wanted to check, but I heard you just then, so you should be okay.
Okay, yeah, so that would just be my biggest recommendation, is to give it the time and sit back and experience it.
I would second that. It builds. It has there's some great pure poetic bits in it too that are spoken word, and I think those are very powerful as well. I think the delivery
Oh
was
yeah, and
great, and
shout out
and
to
and the
Jake
message was
Munta.
great. Absolutely.
He's in the chat right now. He plays an important character on the album. He plays the street poet, and Jake performs a couple poems that I wrote for the album, and he really gives them life and vigor. And a few people who I shared the album with, his moments were some of the favorites. So know that, Jake.
Yeah,
A
no,
big
absolutely. The messages that are put forward again, I really resonated with this album. It hit me, I believe, how it should, and if not more so. And its presentation, it flows very well. There is this bigger story, but even underlying that bigger story, to me, there was an expression of there was an expression, period, that was underlying the whole thing that is very much worth your time and is delivered very tactfully, very sensitively, very with very much empathy and no well, I guess I'm going to use the word arrogance. There was no self-importance to it. It was, this is me, I'm sharing it with you, and that's, again, we were talking about that it's art. That's,
Yeah,
the best way to go about it.
and this was and I honestly, a big part of the reason I think that I'm so attracted to music and creating music is because I often just don't feel that comfortable sharing and expressing my emotions because, well, I don't know. There's a lot of reasons and they're deep seated. And it's something that I've had, it's just with anything, you have to grow and work out of it. But I feel that through the veil of music and metaphor, I'm at my most honest. And I've never been more honest with any of my art than the Chuck album. It's I'm ripping open my chest and showing you guys my heart and soul here. And I can't say it any other way.
Well, again, the underlying bit of at least the B track to me was release, and that takes many forms. And maybe it's from self, like you were just kind of saying. Maybe it's from society. Maybe it's from artistic. Well, I guess that would be society too. But basically, it's again, it's a very clear expression of, I don't know. Listen to it, folks. January 27th, live on Kickstarter. Be there that day. Get this guy funded. Get it seen by eyes who need to see it and ears who need to hear it. And let's make this a massive underground hit, maybe a massive hit, period. The potential is there, 100% there. And I want to see that happen. I want to see this
Yeah.
thing explode, and I want to see it be played anywhere that will hear it, because it should be played anywhere that has any inkling of artistic expression and actual heartfelt sharing, communication. We need that so bad these days.
Yeah, honestly, I hope that it can be I hope that it can just be a positive and immersive experience for people. And I hope that, yeah, I just really want people to hear it because I think it's just without trying to sound arrogant or self-important. I just think it's something that people could. I think it's something people could use. I think it could be a really positive thing for people to hear this. I mean, not that I gonna change the world, but it might give you might give you the time just to sit back and think and be introspective and kind of just consider aspects of existence that maybe you haven't. If you just the time, people don't take time to sit back and relax and think and experience like they used to, and this is an opportunity to do that. It's an open invitation to do that.
Yes, and to share something there. Um, we've got another track here. Would you mind me trying to play it? Launch and Lost.
Yeah, and let me give you guys a little intro on this one.
Yeah.
So this track is actually two tracks that I combined to release. It's Launch and Lost. And Launch is going to give you guys a great example of some of the story elements where there's characters, there's discussion, there's plot. And Lost that follows it is a instrumental piece which is supposed to kind of create an atmosphere and a feel. So you're getting kind of a hybrid of a couple different of the aspects of the album here. So let's see what you guys think.
Yeah, all right. So we'll be right back with you. Enjoy Launch and Lost. Again, as it says right here, Chuck, live on Kickstarter, January 27th. If you can't support financially, word of mouth costs nothing. If you're here, you have that ability, and we would so very much appreciate it. Now, enjoy.
Flight Laguna 1. Main ignition good. All systems go. Roger that, Flight Laguna 1. All systems go. Laguna 1 flight. We have cleared the tower. Roger that, Laguna 1. Godspeed. Laguna 1 flight. She's handling like a dream. Roger that, Laguna 1. Flight, I've got a red light here. Flight, I've lost navigation. Roger that, Laguna 1. We see you are off your trajectory. Attempt override. Laguna 1, attempt override. Laguna 1, do you read? Laguna 1, do you read? Laguna 1. Flight. Laguna 1, flight, I've lost. Can you fly?
Now, believe that's an opening track, isn't it?
Yeah, that is the second track on the album after launch. Those are the
okay.
first two tracks on the album that you just heard. That's the beginning of the album.
Well, there you go. That's your intro into this cosmic journey. Let's see.
And let me take
Yeah.
a quick second to shout out to Pablo Romero. I just linked his
Mhm.
Twitter page. He did that fantastic cover art for me.
Yes, I was actually going to talk about that. When you were designing this as a concept album, as an idea, Chuck as a character, which I was used to also from your live shows.
Mhm.
What was the hook? What was the impetus of this space angle, and also of the our cosmic astronaut there?
Okay, well, anybody who knows me knows I'm a fan of science fiction, and I have been since I was a kid. I grew up watching sci-fi movies with my dad, and so when I kinda so the it's a long story. The name starts with starts with the name Laguna Munta, and then I was like, I chose that name because it sounded better than the name I had to go live with when we
Yeah.
were gonna play a gig. So I like that's the name we're sticking with. And then when I was designing the text for it, for the emblem, I wanted it to have a cool sci-fi look because I like sci-fi. And then when I wrote the song Laguna Munta, the lyrics are very sci-fi and pertain to. I don't want to explain the song, but there's sci-fi elements and they're very strong in the themes of those lyrics. And so that kind of translated into me kind of pursuing the space vibe and that kind of just motif. And we were out of town visiting family in Roswell. We were checking out all the kind of touristy shops, and my girlfriend Misty found this inflatable astronaut, and she's like, "Oh, this would be great for like your live show." And I'm like, "Yeah, it would be." And I'm like, "So I just need to give him a name." And I had a dream one night where Misty and I were out eating lunch or something, and I had a gigantic stuffed astronaut with me. He was in tote, and we were paying the check and we were leaving, and I saw that I had left the astronaut behind. And in the dream, I just instinctively started running at the astronaut, and I yelled at the top of my lungs, "Chuck." And when I woke up, I was like, "Well, I guess his name's Chuck." And so he became kind of part of the band. He became the kind of mascot. And then the idea for a concept album kind of stemmed from me wanting to tell. I really wanted to tell the story of the journey of the human spirit after my dad died. I wanted to tell I wanted to create an album that showed the experience of death. Not that I know what that is, but just something like that, the journey of the human spirit going on and having this crazy, amazing cosmic adventure. And I was gonna incorporate things from my dad's life that he loved, westerns, war history, all these kinds of things, but that never came to be. And so I eventually settled on the plot in Chuck, and I kind of encapsulated some of those ideas of the human spirit and that journey with Chuck at the forefront. And what I love about Chuck is at different times in my life and at different times in the album even, Chuck kind of represents a lot of different people, a lot of different things.
I get you there. I get you there.
But
It's it's
a lot of Chuck is my dad though.
yeah. That the faceless protagonist is a very useful tool in an artist's toolbox. It allows that bridge of empathy. Now there was a lot of people who think that's the best way to do it, but it's certainly a very useful way to do it, and I think you've harnessed it in the right and best way to allow this grounding. Again, we see this all the time. Superheroes, for instance, anybody could be in Spider-Man's suit. Um, there's this disconnect to it allows it to become more of an ideal and less of this grounded person. And that's
Yeah.
very important because we can get too grounded. And that's one thing I would say this album is well, it's certainly not quote unquote grounded, but it is grounded in human experience, but it's not limited by that grounding. It soars above it
Yeah.
where we all kind of feel and experience that. You did mention the track Laguna Munta. Do you have any interest in sharing it with the folks today? If not, they can go to your YouTube channel and check out the topics part of it and can listen to Laguna Munta for free and a few other great tracks. But I kind of also want to talk about your previous efforts and how that led you to here, and I wouldn't mind showing a part of that.
Well, let's talk about it, and hey, if anybody out there wants to hear something, you have a question, throw it out at us, because
Please do.
I'd love to get involved, and I see you guys with your great comments and your great compliments, and thank you very much, and I really appreciate it. But if you have any questions, throw them our way.
Yeah, no, about any of this. Again, January 27th on Kickstarter. This thing goes live. I would love to see it explode. The nice thing about Kickstarter is it has a lot more passive eyes than many other crowdfunding platforms. And so if it can get moving, it can get seen. And if it can get seen and it is of quality, which I truly believe it is, and I certain Laguna believes it is, then it should carry itself after that point. And that's the beauty of putting out something into the ether and into that chaos. And I really hope that that's what happens. And so I can't, again, emphasize enough. Get out there and share it and be there on the 27th. Be there after the 27th. Be there when it finishes. Just be there. Simply be.
I just linked the Kickstarter page again for you guys. So, and if you sign up ahead of time, that's great, because then you can get notified when it goes live and you can just be right there, ready to go.
Exactly. And again, there's no harm in just signing up. If you don't have the finances, it's hard these days. At least it helps push the digital overlords to push the thing in front of more people who might be able to assist and help on this wonderful venture.
And I tried to put different tiers, and we'll get more into that when the campaign's live. But I tried to put things in various price ranges. I really tried, because I know how it is. I'm not made of money, so I tried to price things realistically and fairly. So I hope that there's something for everybody on the campaign.
I think there will be. And again, hopefully down the line, after launch, on launch, around that time, maybe we'll get back together and talk the specifics about the campaign and what's going on, what tiers and what the ideas were, and all that fun stuff, the nitty-gritty business end of all this, which has to be dealt with. But so far, I mean, this is, again, not his first release. This first release was Plugs Out. You want to talk a little bit about that and your experiences releasing your first album?
Oh, definitely. So Chuck and Plugs Out are 2 years apart and worlds apart in experience. When I was recording Plugs Out, I was recording it on a miniature digital 4-track recorder that my girlfriend gave me for a Christmas one year, and so thanks to her for that. But I was recording it strictly on that, so I wasn't afforded the extra tools and abilities that working with a computer can give you. So it was all very old school in approach, where it's like, well, you got to get it all in one take, and you have to really nail it, and it has to be it was just a lot more rigid, and I had a lot less wiggle room, and thusly it kind of became a chore, and it was pretty much a negative experience. By the time I was done recording the album, I was just kind of pissed off at it, because it was just so difficult to do.
Mm-hmm.
But Chuck, oh my God, complete different experience. There was times when I got maybe a little stagnant, where I was dragging a bit, but mostly joy to work on. And so when I finished Plugs Out, all I did was I just burnt CDs of it, and I played some gigs and sold CDs at the shows. And later on, when I got kind of more involved with the online digital thing, I threw them up on different web stores, and people can stream them and stuff. And that's okay, but I feel like there's I don't know, it didn't have enough traction, and there wasn't enough attention to it, and maybe that's just the way things are, but I feel like that's the reason I want to do Chuck physically, mostly, is just to get it into the hands of people who really want it, and not so much sacrifice it to the streaming gods, as it were.
Yeah, no, I get that 100%. Sadly, these days you do need that balance, mainly because it's a massive cacophony out there of just everybody, and I love hearing it. Again, I'm all for every voice should be heard and should be put out there. But at the end of the day, you also have to be able to be heard over it. And this is a great angle for Chuck to be heard over it. I'm glad to hear that. I also do think, though, I'm less down on Plugs Out than perhaps Laguna is. I think you folks should definitely check it out. It
Oh,
is available on
well,
all of those wonderful
well, let me
streaming
say,
platforms and buying platforms, and that's a great way you can support him today.
in the time since then, I don't have any. There's no negative feelings with the album. I actually go back and I listen to it, and I'm very happy with the work I've done, and I think it's actually good. But at the time, it was just I was so involved with it, and I was working so hard on it. And by the time I was done with it, I was just kind of grossed out by it. But now, listening to it, I'm glad. I'm really glad that I actually worked so hard and pushed it, and was really a perfectionist about it, because I'm really happy with the work that I did, and it came out really well.
Well, it sounds like it was a Growing Pains album, which is what I kind of expect from a an independent first album. You're gonna learn a lot when you just dive headfirst into something, particularly with the tools you have available. That's always the best
Yeah.
way, and
Oh, and
I
I've
think
always
there's a rawness to that should be definitely appreciated.
Oh yeah, and I've always been a guy who's like, let's work with the tools I have. I know a lot of brilliant, intelligent, creative people who kind of sit back and say, "Oh, well, I'm going to do this when I have, the thousands of dollars to go into the studio and do it." And hey, that's great. If that works for you, that's great. But for me, I've always worked with the tools I've had. I've recorded on crappy little cassette recorders. I've moved up to good cassette recorders, and then to digital recorders, and then onto the computer. And honestly, I wouldn't be at the level I am now if I hadn't had that experience and worked through all those issues and learned all those little things. It's Michael Caine was talking about something. He was saying that he roomed with this actor who was like a talented enough actor, but he was very hesitant to work with just anybody. He only wanted to work with the best directors. And while Michael Caine was just getting whatever gigs he could and doing them, all the while learning. So while Michael Caine was there getting better at acting and getting gigs, this other guy was just taking these arse gigs with the people he wanted to work with, and then showing up and really not knowing what the hell he was doing.
Yeah,
And when he was talking about the interview, I was like, well, that's totally how I've always tried to approach it. I just try to work with the tools I have, build on that, and hopefully the next project you have a little bit better tools and you're a little better at what you do. So I didn't present my first album is not a polished, perfect top 10 album. It's me growing, and Chuck is me growing as well. You guys
yep.
are watching me grow musically. Each album, hopefully, I'm growing.
Yeah, I think you are. I just read the book Rebel Without a Crew. It's Robert Rodriguez's story about making El Mariachi, and that's the
Nice.
number one thing it preaches: is just make it, just do it. And if you do it right, even with the sparse tools you have, it can be a masterpiece, even if you don't think it is. And so I would like to, if you're okay with it, I'd like to play Laguna Munta, so people can kind of
Yeah,
get
play it. Let's play
yeah.
it.
All right, let's play Laguna Munta, and then you folks can kind of get a vibe of where he came from, and then you can support it if you want to hear other tracks. You can go on YouTube, you can go to Bandcamp, which he linked up above, and purchase them and support him right now. That's a huge difference. A dollar or two for you builds up for these creators. If nothing else, it's massive moral support. I know how much it means to me every time I get a piece of fan art or somebody actually wants to read our digital works. It makes a
Oh
big
God,
difference in the impetus, in the fuel, in the
I
drive.
get so giddy about that kind of stuff. I
It's
get
the
giddy.
gas.
Somebody bought your track for $1. It's not even about the dollar. It's just like, oh my God, somebody bought the track. They wanted it.
Exactly, and now they have it. So that's my kind of thing. So check it out. This is Laguna Munta by Laguna Munta, and we'll be back right after it plays. And we would love to have some questions in chat or any kind of discussion, ideas, your feelings on his music, anything. Just engage. We love seeing you folks here. I very much appreciate you being here, and enjoy the song. Yeah, baby. Yeah. All right. That's Laguna Munta by Laguna Munta.
I realized something actually that is important to share after listening to
Yeah.
that song. If you haven't heard the Plugs Out album, there will be some Easter eggs in Chuck that you will miss.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's part of it
Uh,
too. I think. You know, in the independent sphere, you end up having to support creators as well as their works. And sure, there's going to be works you like more than others, but at the end of the day, that those works aren't disconnected. It's the same creators, the same expression. And I think if you like the more rock and roll edge that Plugs Out has, you'll find quite a bit more depth to Chuck from that. Again, you said this was recorded on a 4-track, kind of an old school way of doing things, yeah?
well, yeah, it's a new school recorder, but the whole concept of just recording into a little box instead of a
Yeah.
computer or a huge board, it's pretty old school. It was
Yeah.
small time.
There you go. And so, I mean, you'll
So
get
it's
this
got that.
feeling.
Yeah, it's got a different flared feeling to it. But another interesting thing about that track, Laguna Munta, is it's a very important song to me because I wrote it when I was at kind of a crossroads in life. I had gotten laid off from my job, and I'd worked there for years. I loved the job, and I was kind of up in the air for a minute. And it was kind of at that point where I was like, well, I'm gonna have to really start pushing the music. I need to make something happen. If I'm actually gonna go somewhere with my music, I need to start seeing some return soon. So I need to double my efforts and go for it. And so Laguna Munta, when you listen to the lyrics, it's also kind of me reassuring myself, Laguna Munta, your way out. Laguna Munta, have no doubt. And it's also talking about how Laguna Munta, free to explore, about how I want to just do whatever I want to musically and be free with it. So it's a very personal song to me too. And if you listen to that album, there's a lot of my personal philosophy on Plugs Out as well. Money, people, count me out. Those are some personal philosophical songs as well.
Well, I think almost all of them on that album. Every Time I Blink, On My Way. There's a lot of amazing songs on that piece as well that you folks have been missing out on since, if you haven't been supporting. That's 100% worth your time. He's even done, which I would like to see more of, a few live stream concerts, and that's one way. Also, if those go up again, that's another great way to engage with the work and the creator. And
Well,
just oh, there we go.
I will be doing another a live stream concert on the 27th. That's going to be the launch day. I'm going to do a live stream concert, a short one, but I'm going to play a couple of the singles you've heard. I'm going to play one that you haven't heard. Okay, so let me just organize this thought.
Yeah, go for it.
27th is launch day. I will also be releasing the third and final single from the Chuck album. That same day, I will be doing a live stream where I'll be playing B, the second single I've released, which came out today, and the third single, which is yet to be announced. I will be playing both of those songs live, along with a collection of other Laguna Munta tracks. And that's just to help promote and kind of get people excited about launch day. So if you guys want to come check that out, that would be fantastic.
Now, I would assume that's primarily going to be on Facebook, yes?
Yes, and I'm actually going to get the link and share it with you guys now because it's going to be live on Facebook on the 27th. And there is the link to that. That's the event.
Excellent. So, folks, if you're on that, go ahead and check that out. If not, you're going to be missing out. I'll see if I can, after the show, talk to this guy about maybe hitting a couple other platforms at the same time and how to do that. But in case you folks, want to see that, please check that out. He's a wonderful live performer, very, very enjoyable. Never went to a concert where folks were not entertained. And I think you folks will enjoy hearing these songs live, probably for the first time publicly. That's a big deal. I can't wait to be there myself.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely anxious about doing them justice because they're new songs to me, and it's funny. in modern times, you often record an album and then learn how to play it. And that's kind of the boat I've been in. It's like I wrote all these songs and then I had to go back and be like, okay, so how do I play them all now? Weird.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of folks too that they end up splicing a little too much recording to get it done because they just couldn't feasibly do it. But I don't think that seems to be a possibility here. The main bits that would be pre-recorded are necessary to be pre-recorded. So
Yeah, and that's another interesting bit because when I recorded Plugs Out, I very much was like because obviously when I play live, for those who haven't seen my shows, I use backing tracks. I use my drums and my bass and maybe some accenting parts to back me up and make me sound like a full band. And so when I was recording Plugs Out, I was very much aware, okay, Chris, you're going to have to record this album and make sure that you can execute this live. You can do everything live. I did not give myself that same stipulation with Chuck because it is not an album that I could perform live in its entirety without the assistance of recordings or more people. So versions you're going to hear me performing live are dumbed down versions compared to what's on the album for two reasons. One, I wanted to I didn't want to overload people with a bunch of noise and make it sound bad, and two, I want to give people a more live and pure experience with the tracks. So just know that.
And I think that's the way you got to go about it. And I'm very excited to see that. I know quite a few people in chat are excited as well to be there and to support you and your work on the 27th on Kickstarter. You can sign up now so you don't forget. These days it's pretty easy to get distracted one way or another. And maybe you want to have a reminder there of what can be important to you. I certainly will be. I've been signed up since that went up, I think. And links in chat. Laguna's been great about posting the links in chat, so definitely check those out. Well, let's see. Is there anything in chat that you folks want to ask Laguna while we're here? Ask me, ask what we think about anything or how things are done. It's very rare you get an opportunity to interview and to ask a independent artist about their process or about what they do. And now's one of those times, folks. Now's one of those times.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that I can.
Exactly. So that's let's see. Hate to have.
Well, I know.
There you go.
No, we could talk. I know something you were talking about, or you mentioned in one of your tweets, is about art this year and creating art.
Yeah.
In this current climate, and how that's been, and how strange and new.
Yeah, it's definitely been strange and new on my end, but as I think I mentioned earlier, on the live performer and musical performance end, it took out a whole section of engagement. Now, on comic books, it took out the conventions, which was a massive part of how creators got their money and got to engage with other creators, network, as well as meet their fans and engage with their community. That's completely gone. They've tried digital meetings and digital, cons, I guess you can call it, and they don't have the same hit, and that's always difficult. I've also seen a lot of more professional, high-end musicians, folks who were packing coliseums. They're having to do that too, and building these audiences on YouTube and other platforms because they just cannot do the job that they know how to do. And so how has that been from your level? I'm sure extremely difficult. It's been difficult for me, but also what kind of adaptations and thinking has that kind of made you have to adapt to?
Well, it's affected me negatively and positively. Obviously the negative aspects were canceled shows, kind of, and then after you're not playing shows, you kind of, especially me, you kind of become a slave to your reclusive nature because I'm not your typical. I'm not what I appear to be. I do love to be in front of a crowd. I do love to put on a show, but I'm just as comfortable alone and quiet with nobody around. And so it was hard. It's hard sometimes to push myself to want to play shows because I might be more reclusive, but at the same time, I love playing shows. So having the shows canceled was a real drag because I was really looking forward to playing and engaging with new people, sharing the tunes. and also not playing live for such a long time has made me really realize how much I love it, because I've said it for years. My bedroom is a pretty shitty crowd. I only played at the posters for so long without it getting dull, and so I've had a lot of time on Chuck. I finished Chuck because I was at home a lot, and I don't know if it would be done right now if I wasn't, kind of stuck at home like I had been. And I feel like I've actually progressed quite a bit in my guitar playing. I've actually seen progress there for the first time in a long time, because I've just been spending a lot more time with it, being a little more analytical because I've had the time to do so. Whereas before it was just, hey, let's rehearse for a while, let's play some guitar for a while before I got to go to work. Where now, or when I was, stuck at home more, it was a lot more analytical. what am I doing here? How can I make this better? What techniques? How can I do this? And so it's been kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. That for all the negatives that have come out about, personally, that people have had more time to engage their dreams in one way or another. Now, I think that's also because people in times like this want to have that dream and want to push for it. And I think that's the best thing we can do, just
Oh
for
yeah.
ourselves and for everybody else, is to not resist that urge and not lose that perspective, because it seems naive at times, but at the end of the day, it's one of those many things that make life worth living. And if there's a perspective shift there where a lot more people are doing it, yes, competition becomes much more fierce, but the tapestry of all this work becomes so much more vibrant, and you can learn so much more from it. And so I've also seen that in comics, for interest, an explosion of crowdfunded and self-made comics, and the engagement on them. I've seen again, independent music too. I've seen a little bit, not just on your end, but on a few other ends, and of course on, like I was saying, even big creators going to these smaller platforms because they no longer have their stage. And I think that perspective shift can be very good. And as you said, it's a double-edged sword because it comes with a lot of other pains and a lot of growing pains collectively. But at the end of the day, I think it is something that's worth observing and engaging with.
Great. And Doc Graves here has a
Yes.
question. He says, "What steps did you take to make this a more interpretive album?"
Yeah, what steps did you take?
Interpretive? Can you clarify that one for me
There we
there,
go.
Dean?
I
I think we
think,
just answered Jake's question. He says, "How's the pandemic shutdown affected your creative process?" So I think we kind of covered that.
yeah, on my end, it didn't really affect it too much, except on the business end, became much more difficult. Just a lot more, a lot more gears have had a harder time being greased and moving. But aside from that, on my end, not too much, not too much. But definitely on the inspiration end, again, on my end, missing shows, besides missing wonderful Laguna Munta shows, which I would have loved all last year. I also missed what would have been my first con, and that would have been a lot of fun.
That'd been awesome.
Yeah, I would have enjoyed that. And it's just it it can be physically taxing because it's emotionally taxing, and it's constant. It's this constant bombardment. And so these creative efforts are a wonderful escape to a different reality that is just as important. And again, I think Laguna Munta's newest album, Chuck, really does communicate a large part of that. And so I think that it resonated with me. The way it resonated with me may not be the same it resonates with you, but it comes from a same core. And I'm excited to see it be spread.
As am I. And I guess I'll try to answer Dean's question here. What steps did you take to make this a more interpretive album? And I think what he means there is, I'll try to answer. So generally, when I write a song, I try not to be this blatantly obvious. I try not to be blatantly obvious with my lyrical content. I try to be a little more artistic or poetic with it. Kind of say things in a roundabout way a lot of the times. And so with Chuck, I think I just showed less of my hand. I kind of buried things a little bit more in metaphor, and while I had a very clear picture of the story I was telling in my head, I didn't put all those colors out there. I kind of left some blank spaces in the canvas for other people to fill out by not being so rigid in my design. There's some things that are very clear. Oh, you hear that sound. Oh, that's clearly birds chirping. There's no other way to interpret that. But there's so many other things on the album that are open to interpretation. So I think it was just a matter of not being rigid in my explanation, in my presentation of the content.
Yeah, I think that does answer that. It's an album that can be interpreted, a more interpretive album. I think so too. Again, it's a concept album. I think good concept albums should have that angle to it. Like you spoke of 2112, certainly has quite a bit of that. The Wall has quite a bit of that, where they get heavy-handed in certain ideas, perhaps, but none of them are beating you over the head, nor are they allowing no other choice than what's presented. And that's very important. I think people like feeling that they were important, that their idea of it matters, and that's what concerts allow people to do. They gather together to listen to this music that they all have a different experience with, but they all share that it comes from that source. Same thing with cons. Same thing with a lot of art, and it binds us together, and it doesn't bind us together in a way that is rigid.
I like that. You sound like Yoda almost there.
I wasn't backwards enough.
Luminous beings are weak, you know?
Yep.
But yeah, I gotta, okay, so Dean says here, to put the vision of the album more in the eye of the listener, how did you let the listener choose their own path as opposed to a more traditional album? Yeah, I think I answered that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just tried not to put such rigid constructs, on the album, and I didn't. Yeah, I gotta say, sometimes 2112, it's very heavy-handed. Like they're saying, we are the priest of the temple of Sirius. I mean, there's no way around what they're saying. So with Chuck, there's very few moments that are like that. It's all kind of metaphoric and a little more poetic at times, and less direct.
Yeah,
it's like, this is Chuck. He's an astronaut. He's in space.
Exactly. It's a story where I think all good storytellers, they take the hand of their listener and walk them through that journey, through maybe something they've experienced or something they want to express. Bad storytellers assume that the crowd knows what they're saying, and if they don't, then they get upset about it, and that communicates in their work.
Oh yeah, and I am very much. I've said this to all my, all the people in the inner circle who've heard the album. I'm like, well, I do not. If somebody actually was like, hey, Chris, I think that this was what you meant, and you meant this. If somebody nailed it down and laid out exactly what I had put to them, I would be shocked.
Yeah.
I really don't expect anybody to come out with my exact interpretation, and I don't expect them or want them to. And on the subject of Star Wars, I gotta say, this is kind of like listening to this album is kind of like when Luke walks into that temple and he asks Yoda, he says, "What's in there?" And Yoda says, "Only what you take with you." And that's
Exactly.
kind of what this album lets you do. It doesn't make you do anything. It kind of just almost like a test, whatever you get out of it is really what you've got inside you.
Yeah. I've heard many times that I don't know who said it, but that art is a mirror held up to society. That's usually what it tends to be. And so if it's a mirror, that means everybody who looks in it is, again, only seeing what they brought with them when they were looking in. And good art allows that vision to be pleasant yet expressive, and maybe to come out with something more than you went in. And again, that Star Wars bit, that's exactly what happens. But yeah, I mean, I am so excited to see this come to fruition. You folks are mentioning sound effect creating. Yeah. Let's talk about that end, because this has a lot of non-musical audio elements to it. How did you decide to what was necessary and what wasn't? How much work was that? Talk about that process.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta say, this album, in writing it was very intuitive and easy. I did not struggle. I did not force any of the songs. All of the musical cues, I would just sit down to play something, and if it was working, I would pursue it, and if it wasn't, nothing would come of it. And I can't say that's the way I always operate. Sometimes I'm so stubborn with an idea that I push it until I kind of force it to work. But with Chuck, all of the songs, all the melodies, they poured forth, like a gentle stream. It was very effortless to get the work out of me. The difficult part was putting it together. I had come up with the story and I knew what I wanted to incorporate, and I wrote an outline, a long time into the process. I should have came up with the outline first, but after I was kind of already struggling, I was like, maybe you should write an outline, and so you know what the hell you're trying to do. So I did, and it was a matter of, okay, here, these are the story beats I need to cover. Okay, this is a song that this can convey this story. Okay, now I want some character moments. I want us to kind of get to know the characters. So a lot of my friends and family are on this album. My sister, Michelle Messick, is on it. My good friend, Jake Concha, is on it. Dean Montavon, my best friends, is on it. Michelle Moore, who is an actress I met years ago, and she's a great friend of mine. She's on it. Carol Oden, fantastic actor. He's on it. My niece and nephew, Johnny and Athena, they are both on it. My fantastic girlfriend, Misty, she's on it as well. They're all playing characters on this album and bringing it together. So I had to spend a lot of time trying to create soundscapes. Like I said, I had to make a movie without benefits of the visuals. So instead of taking your camera out to the park and filming your friend and getting all the ambient sounds around and kind of making it would kind of create most of itself. All you got to do is film it, right? With the album, I had to come up with the idea. I had to record the characters. I had to adjust the sounds to make it sound like they're in the environment that I want, that they're supposed to be in. And I had to create that environment sonically. Are they outside? Okay, I need sounds of birds. Are there people around? I need sounds of footsteps. Are they near a street? I need sounds of cars. Are they in a room? I have to record this in a certain room, or I have to put a certain type of reverb on it. It was a lot of specifics and a lot of work, more than I've ever had to deal with. Are they on the phone? How do you make it sound like they're on the phone? How do you make it sound like the TV's on? I need a radio sound. How do I create that? There's a sound where there are footsteps walking across a metal floor. I went and got a cookie sheet and one of my boots and made the sound. And there's some sounds in there of some pretty fantastic sci-fi things happening, and a lot of that is me banging stuff around in the kitchen. We had people working on our water heater and they were using a Bunsen burner. I recorded that and I changed it and flipped it up in the computer, and that's one of the important sounds on the album. So it was a lot of fun. It was pure creativity, and it was a blast.
Well, good. I mean, off of that, because I know a little bit of some more backstory. Um, it sounds like a lot of film influences your creative process. Now, not only in storytelling, but just how you got to the audio bits, particularly in this album, again, because you was focused on storytelling, not in just a single track, but an overall piece. And so, how do you think that your your experience in indie film kind of affected this? And maybe talk a little bit about your experience in indie film.
Well, I've been making, home movies since 8th grade summer. And Raphael Hess, if he's actually still here in the chat, he was one of the first friends that I started making movies with. And you as well, Cody and Dean.
Yep.
And so I've been having fun making movies since I was a kid. And that's also something I got from my dad. When I was a kid, my dad had the video camera. He'd borrow my action figures so he could make little stop motion videos just for fun. And so I kind of inherited that, hobby from him. And I started we would make like 15-minute action films, and they're just so bad, but so good. You go back and watch them and you're like, this is garbage, but I love it. And so I kept doing that. And I love movies. Movies are one of my favorite things. It's very important to me. Films. I was talking to Misty about this recently. Growing up, again, my dad, I watched a lot of movies with my dad. So I bonded with my father over movies. So movies are a huge part of my life. They're a huge part of my person. I mean, I quote movies constantly. it's almost a habit I can't control. It's such a huge part of me. So I've always loved movies, and I think I've always kind of had a cinematic mindset uh, because of that, because of my love for film, and so all these years making these home movies with friends, and trying to do maybe a little more serious ones sometimes. Some actually writing scripts. That was cool when we started actually writing a script instead of just starting to film and then just slapping something together. I learned a lot through those experiences, and I had a lot of fun doing it. But again, it was just pure creativity. So, making my own music and making movies with friends, all of that kind of experience and the joy, and yeah, all that kind of culminates in Chuck because I just love cinema and I love music, and I'm I I'm a stronger music creator than I am a filmmaker. And I don't think I could make a Chuck movie that would be half as good as the Chuck album. So I took all of those elements and wrapped them in a package that suits my skill set a little bit better. And that's kind of how Chuck came to be. It's if Chris made a movie, this would be that movie. This is the ultimate movie I would make.
I get you. I get you there quite a bit. I'm quite a fan of cinema as well, and I've also gone through similar transitions through a different artistic medium, and I can definitely see how that culminates. And that's why I was kind of curious about you to talk about it, because it's maybe something that a lot of our listeners wouldn't guess at first. They would maybe pin you down as simply a musician, but you're a creator. You also write and it's about that expression. You feel the need to express yourself, and I think most of us as creators can certainly empathize with that.
Oh yeah, I have projects on the back burner. I love coming up with ideas for movies, for whatever. I always have ideas backlogged. I'll spitball with my buddy Dean some ideas, or I'll share it with my girlfriend. But I always have, I'm always thinking of something. I've got 4 or 5 ideas backlogged and I just haven't worked on them. Chuck is the project I'm working on, but I have a lot of other creative interests, and I'm constantly creating. Honestly, if I had to say, well, I feel like that's my purpose. I feel like creating is my purpose, and I hope that I can create some things and leave things that will make this world better. And I hope I will have added to it before my time is done.
I think you will. Now, Michelle here brings up a good point that maybe is a good segue into another video. Mixed media from so many eclectic places, like when Chuck went to Meow Wolf. Now, that was a very fun music video. I would love to show that. Can I show that every time I blink at Meow Wolf?
Of course.
Okay, let's show that, because that's where these two things collide, his filmmaking alongside his music. And I would love to share what I was trying to get at there. I think
I'll
it's a
give you
great
a
little
little
expression.
preamble to this as
Yeah,
well.
go. I got to get there anyway, so go for it.
So Chuck was in town, and that's a rarity. So it was fantastic. He was in town. He actually went with my family to Meow Wolf in Santa Fe, and my sister and my nephew, they did the camera work for this music video. And yeah, if you guys haven't heard of Meow Wolf, it's this fantastic out there place. But people thought Chuck was part of the show because it was a very serendipitous day. It was a special day where they have all these characters that are supposed to be from different parts of the exhibit. Like they've come through their dimensions, and now they're in ours. And so a lot of people thought Chuck was part of the show. Kids were chasing him around, and people wanted pictures with him. And he was kind of a superstar for a day. The guy at the door, let Chuck in, gave him a sticker, and he was really welcomed in this place. And it was just such a fantastic experience to be a part of. And yeah,
Oh,
and my sister carrying my niece in the carrier all the way. Yeah, she's got her niece, her daughter strapped to her chest while she's filming this, all through these tight corridors and everything. And this is what we came up with.
Right on. So here it is, folks. Every Time I Blink, which was also on Plugs Out. If you like the song, you can go pick it up on Bandcamp. Support Laguna Munta and independent art. And check out the music video also on Laguna Munta's YouTube if you want to watch it again later. And here we go and enjoy. We'll be right back with you.
I want to see you, face I've known so long. From the day I've been drugged through, with things had all gone wrong. I felt out of place in a house built like mine, wearing what looked like my clothes and a watch telling me familiar time. Things are strange, am I who you think? Feeling rearranged every time I blink. Every time I blink. Every time I blink. Seeing things that I should remember from long ago. Names and dates that slip away, not sure of what I know. When did we paint the walls? Did they always look like that? Was the room always so small? Were the floorboards always cracked? Do I belong? Do you know my face? Do you feel wrong caught in space? Faces are distorted like a fuzzy photograph. Things that would have made me cry can only make me laugh. Everyone's staring at me with expressions unattached. I'm who I've always been. My world's been mixed and matched. Been here too long. I've gone too deep. This is where I woke up, baby. But now where I went to sleep.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's a fun video. I haven't watched that in a little while.
Right on. Now, I know you've done quite a few others. That's probably your fullest like music video with you know, plot and a different bits. But you've also done quite a few live videos of you playing, right? And there's even a Every Time I Blink on your channel, if I remember right, on Laguna Munta on YouTube, where you can see him play that same song live, right?
Yeah, and the first video ever uploaded to my YouTube channel is one that my friend Herman filmed. He's aka Media Man, and that was for my song "Running," and that's probably my best looking music video because he had like a really nice camera. But that one's got a plot. It's developed as well. It's just not as visually alluring as this one.
Ah, there
The
you
one
go.
one thing I thought of, you know, that opening shot where Chuck presses the button and the song starts. That's
Yes.
definitely, Tom Petty inspired, from the "You Got Lucky" music video where they find that old arcade and they flip the switch and all the lights come on and they start, you know, messing around with the games and stuff. I was
Yeah,
definitely inspired by that.
absolutely. They always had the he and the Heartbreakers always had great music videos. I've been watching Into the Great Wide Open's a good one. And what's the one with Johnny Depp? Also, there's one I've been watching recently.
Oh,
But
with, Tom Petty with Johnny
yeah,
Depp?
yeah.
Oh, no, I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's gonna bug me because I have been watching it recently. But yeah, it's a young Johnny Depp, and he's it might be Into the Great Wide Open. And then
Could
there's
be.
yeah, I think so. It's that or it's another one
Well,
from there. But anyway, it's a good place to get some inspiration from.
oh, definitely. Yeah, and that one I just tried to when I was cutting it, I just tried to make it super tripped out because you know, the lyrical content is very much a reality turned upside down. So filming it at Meow Wolf was perfect, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. I think you nailed it with the setting. Since we're talking about inspirations a little bit, what are your musical inspirations going into, Chuck?
Well, that's a good question. Honestly, I can't say that there was any specific music that inspired, like, the Chuck music.
Mhm.
There are times when I'm playing some songs off the Chuck album, and I've heard from other people that there's kind of a Pink Floyd vibe, which would make sense because while it's not my favorite album, in my opinion, Pink Floyd The Wall is the greatest album ever recorded.
Oh, there you go, folks. You can argue and chat about that. I have no comment because I haven't listened to it enough.
But, so I can't say musically, specific musically there
Okay.
was an inspiration going in. It was kind of just whatever came through when I was trying to write the songs. It was basically no holds barred, no limitations. So I'd say
Hmm.
the inspiration was freedom. Just
Alrighty.
just go with the flow. But, Graves, Dean has a question that we missed. It's for you. He says, "What was the biggest IronVerse takeaway from listening to Chuck? The thing or concept that stuck with you the most?"
Overall, it is release. It's this celebration of acknowledging that the chains that we place upon ourselves are not real. That's a big one for me that I got out of Chuck. And that chain could be the corporeal form. It can be many, many different things. But that's what I got out of it. And that's if I had to put it succinctly, that's about as specific as I can get with that. If I'd have to listen to it again overall. I gave Laguna here quite a few of my notes when he was kind enough to share it with me. But that would be it. It's again, as you said, you went into it with freedom. That's kind of what I took out of it, um, just
Yeah, and I
from
was,
maybe a different perspective.
yeah, and honestly, I've been very thrilled with everybody's response so far. In particular, yours, Cody. Like I said, you gave me the best review. Nobody's going to give me a better review on this album. I doubt it than you.
Well, it broke me. It was a good day to listen to it and the right time to listen to it, and it broke me right the fuck down. But
I
nonetheless,
know.
I meant every
Almost
word of
better
it.
to do. Well, I didn't. Well, yeah, you're not a guy you're not a bullshitter, you know.
No, I
So
can't.
I
I'm
so I knew
terrible at it.
I knew you meant. I know you are, and you're compelled to tell the truth and be honest. And so I knew
Yeah.
you weren't just blowing smoke when you gave me those fine compliments.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to focus and make sure we're hitting everybody in chats because we did get some
Yeah.
questions here.
Yeah, no, please.
So, Shell, this is not a question, but she says, I'm dying to do the Money People music video. It would be the best. The Chuck album will be such a work visually if we ever see it from the artist's perspective. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, the Money People video. Quick story. Dean, Misty, Michelle, and I started filming a music video for Money People sometime back. We have some great footage in the can, but we never finished it. I don't know if we ever will. Dean asks, what was the hardest sound effect?
Yeah,
Record or
I
capture?
remember seeing that one.
Well, it's not actually I got to say the sound effect that I had the trickiest time getting right is not one that's actually has been revealed. It's actually in the track you guys that I uploaded today, the latest single. It actually has a bit of a story bit introducing the track, but I cut it out because I wanted people to get a taste for the music, and again, I'm concerned with attention span. I think when people have the full album, they'll be more inclined to listen to it in its complete form. But there's a moment in before the song starts on B where there's kind of a spaceship sound, and that sound was the hardest one to get right because it needed to sound very specific. It needed to convey a very specific sound and to make you trying to get you to visualize what I'm visualizing without saying, hey, this is what's going on. So that was a tricky one. Once you guys hear the full version, it's kind of a spaceship sound on B. That one was really hard to make work. Let's see.
Oh well, keep going through chat, but I'm thinking we brought up Money People. I'd like to show a little bit of you, performing live in front of the camera. And I believe you have Money People and that perspective lined up on your YouTube channel. Maybe here in a minute I can show that.
Sure.
All right, but yeah, go through chat. Let's catch up with chat.
Jake says, Laguna, do you remember the exact amount of change we used for the Street Poet parts? Yes, I do, Jake, and I will not tell you. I will not tell people how much we used.
Yes, that's right, folks. That great hidden thing. It's hidden in the album. It's spoken just very quietly how much. You're gonna have to search for it and listen to the album again and again and again to find it.
The number is said on the album. I will give you that much of it.
Oh, ha! I'm terrible at bullshitting. Even when I try, it's the truth.
We need $100 million budget for the Chuck movie. Well, yeah, that's true. We would.
Indeed, we would. That's funny.
Let's see. Keeps wanting to hide my sister's "fuck yeah" comments, but you can't censor her, so I'm gonna go ahead.
No, and that's fine. This is not a child's YouTube channel.
Yep, Entity. Yeah, she's bringing up my dad's band, Entity, often Tom Petty inspired as well, and fan of Pink Floyd. But that's the thing is, I've said it many times. I guess I just haven't said it here, but musically and overall, my dad is my biggest influence, and so all the influences he had are going to trickle down. Tom Petty, the Pink Floyd, those are huge ones that he's a fan of, and it trickled down to me. So that makes perfect sense to me.
Right.
Yeah, I think we've caught up with all the chat questions. I think if I missed something, just post it again, please.
Yeah, just post us again, nudge us. It's all good. If you use @ and then either Laguna Munta or IronVerse Comics, it'll actually post in red for us to see it a little bit more clearly. But either way, I think we're catching up, so that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and find Money People. I did. Right on. That was nice and quick. I like that. And we're going to check this out. Now, I'm a big fan of this song's lyrical content. I think it speaks some truths that are often overlooked in the pursuit of its title object. And so enjoy this. And this is a little preview of kind of what it looks like live. If you want to support independent music, independent art, you've got to find it because it's not what's being pushed as loudly as many other things that are just not as soul nourishing. So go ahead, check this out, and we'll be right back with you in a second once I have this. And there we go. All right. So yeah, we'll be right back with you. And thank you folks so much for joining us and continuing to watch this. I'm having a lot of fun. I hope you folks are too. And I hope you're having fun too, Laguna.
Oh, definitely.
All right. So here you go. Here's Money People.
Money People. Some people have all the fun popping champagne and pills. I just like to keep things together, that's good enough for me. Some people want a maid and $1 million too. I just want $2,000 in 3 days and you'll see what I could do. Oh, it all just sounds so simple, but nothing's for free. I gotta get me a portfolio and someone to manage it. You're told by a man in a suit about all the good things I can get. Talk about buying a mansion, I'd have enough for two. But that's just a money thing that money people do. That money people do. Take it away! I've got a new lease on life, you got a lease on your car. Yeah, it's really looking nice, but you could drive it far. But it's just another thing hanging over your head. Well, I drive an old pickup truck, got it when I finished school. No, it don't look like the prettiest thing, but I own it in full. And I won't be paying it off until the day I'm through. That's just a money thing. That's just a money thing. That's just a money thing that money people do. Count 'em. That's just a money thing. That's just a money thing. That's just a money thing that money people do. That money people do. Show me the money.
And do show him the money. That's why we're here today. January 26th on Kickstarter. Chuck goes live. 27th. That's right there. At least it corrected me. But yeah, be there, folks. And if you like that single and any of the others that we've played off of Plugs Out, you can go check that out on Bandcamp and help support him right now. Makes a
And just to
massive
get-
difference.
I can give you guys a little bit of a teaser thing. There are tiers where my previous work is available. You can get the digitals of Plugs Out, as well as the Jack Iron singles and my
Oh.
singles for Stroke of Midnight and the Six String Man. So I'm trying to throw a lot of flavor and value into the campaign. That way I can really make it worth your guys' while, besides the excellent content that I believe is in Chuck.
All right. Well, that's the way to do it. That is definitely the way to do it. You've got to put this out, and cannot have any shame in the shilling these days because nobody else is gonna. So
I know.
you can have some pride, but don't have shame. You have a little bit of pride, have some honor, but not so much shame because there's no room for it if you want to get these words, these feelings, these emotions, this art out. Then you got to realize everybody else is trying to too, and trying very hard. And I believe there's room for everybody.
I gotta say, folks, if you can't back the project, if it's not within your grasp, I totally understand that. But if you could share it with your friends, spread the word. Word of mouth is still the best marketing we can get. So if you've enjoyed anything that you've heard today, even if you haven't, please share it with your friends and family and let them know about what's happening. We've got limited reach. We have the internet, but I'm not one of these influencers with 85 million followers. Neither is Jack Irons here, but you know,
You do what you can. You do what you can, and eventually
exactly.
it amounts to something. I've had no question there. I'm so glad you folks have shown up today. This has been the biggest stream I've had on this channel. Just hit 200 subs last week, and I'm so happy to see
Nice.
some actual engagement with a live stream. I do a lot of not that engaging streams, and this one's been quite a lot of fun. And I'm so glad we've got a lot of good information out. Now, I'm in no rush to end it, but I think we've been going about 2 hours now, if I'm right. I can check, actually.
Yeah, it looks just about 119 minutes, it says.
All right. Well, if there's any closeout questions, any closeout comments, or anything else that you want to hit Laguna Munta, let's go ahead and do that. And then let's get this hype train rolling, folks. Do not forget about it after the stream. I doubt you will. But go ahead and share this stream, share the content. Go ahead and sign up for the Kickstarter, and let's help get Chuck out there to the masses who need it.
If you have any interest in the Chuck album, please sign up for the Kickstarter because that really gives me a great meter to see who's interested in what actually might happen once we go live. Hey, thanks, Ralph. He says everything sounded so great. Hey, much appreciated. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. It's been a long time. Thanks for connecting, man. Jeez.
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's very easy to let these connections pass by the wayside these days due to circumstances, and you can only let those circumstances hold you back so long before you stop living. And don't worry so much would be my main put out on that subject these days. Just breathe and do what you need to. But part of that need is being able to change things, and independent art is my favorite way to be able to support and possibly change things down the line.
And honestly, it's the most positive way and the most realistic way I could see me actually bringing some positive change into the world. So yeah, take that as you will.
Exactly, folks. And I think you will be blown away by its musical content. It's oh, that word is escaping me. It's artistry, but that's not the word I want either. Technical proficiency. It's from one indie artist. It is an incredible effort that many big artists could not even dream of putting out without tons of help. That's one of my favorite things in independent comics is when I can find somebody who's able to produce everything themselves, because that's a true expression of independence, and I'm a huge fan of that, because those are collaborative voices are very important as well, but there's something so unique about a singular perspective or a singular work going out there. And I know this album is collaborative. A lot of folks worked on it, but the vision was very much a single one in execution, and love seeing that.
Yeah, and I think that that's a part of the reason why I think that Chuck is such a strong album. It's because I had a strong vision and I had fantastic people helping me to execute that vision. And again, I shared Pablo Romero's link. He is the artist who did the cover art for the album, and it's fantastic. The guy is a fantastic artist, and what makes him great is he does what he wants. He's controversial, and I love that about him, because honestly, people should be able to do whatever they want artistically. I am a huge purveyor of freedom of speech and expression, and Chuck is a lot about that. And Pablo, really, he's all about that in his art too. I think people should be a little more realistic when it comes to art and just accept art as it is.
Yeah, not be afraid of it. That's a big one. It can only do as much harm as you perceive it will do. If you like Pablo, or if you want to know a little bit more, he does a little bit more on the cheesecake end of the spectrum. If you like pretty ladies, you're going to like his work. And that's why he gets a little flack here and there. That's not... well, anyway, appreciate you folks being here.
But if you look at the Chuck artwork, you really see like guy's got talent, and that's what I saw the talent, and I said, well, this is the guy who can bring my artwork to life, because I had this really rough mock-up that Cody had even saw early on, and he was like, I could connect you with an artist if you wanted to, and I was like, nah, it's fine. And then after a little while, I was like, yeah, this kind of sucks. And I had seen some of Pablo's work, and I'm like, wow, this guy's got a really 80s
Mhm.
style, which is something I really like. I love the 80s aesthetic. I love like 80s movies posters and 80s album covers. And that's really what I wanted. Chuck is a retro kind of experience, because it's that's kind of the vibe I was going for. So I really wanted that retro look for the artwork, and he just nailed it.
Oh, I agree. I love the album art. It's going to be a slip sleeve case that people are going to treasure for a long time if they are, both brave enough and able to support and enjoy this album. Um, so with that, folks, I think that'll be it. I appreciate you all for showing up. I appreciate you, Laguna Munta, for connecting with me and getting this out there. I think it needs to be out there, and whatever I can offer platform wise, it's there.
Oh, I know it. Thank you very much for having me on here. That's, you've got some great people following you, and I've been lucky enough to meet some of the people you work with and interact with them. And that's really what all this is about, is sharing the art with great people. And you've got some great people in your end, and I'm very happy to, interact with them and in a part of their world.
Yep, and I hope they will find the same. I think they will. If they like what I'm doing, they're gonna get what you're doing. And if it's not their gig, it's not their gig. But I think if I'm their gig, there's a good chance your work will be also.
And guys, don't hesitate to check out IronVerse Comics. He's got a fantastic original character with Jack Irons, the Steel Cowboy. I've done a few singles for the comics, and the story's awesome. The art's awesome. If you like sci-fi and westerns, check it out. And we're gonna keep pushing. We're gonna keep this train going with original content, original science fiction stories, and exploration.
Absolutely, and thank you for that. If you folks aren't if you would please, I am trying to grow this platform to be of use to multiple folks, as many folks as I can help. I want to help. The content is kind of off and on. I've been doing something called IronVerse Quickies, where I do an impression of a creator-owned indie comic. Very loose, very loose, I'll just say that. But I think it can be relatively helpful to creators, particularly in the comic sphere, but maybe overall. Yeah, I'm all over at Cowboy_Steel on Twitter. Here, where you are on YouTube, IronVerse Comics on Twitch, if you're there. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Laguna,
And if
you
you
want
wanna
to, plug anything, go for it.
Yeah, if you want to check me out on socials, I'm on everything as well, under Laguna Munta, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook,
YouTube.
everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, I shared my YouTube link, and I shared the Kickstarter link again. If you guys want to check that out, and consider just, signing up to be notified when we go live, just so you can be there and see what it is exactly as it's happening. That way you guys can get it on the ground floor, because I really think I've got something special, and I'd love to share it with you. And you might want the bragging rights of saying, I was there, man. I was one of the first people signed up to get Chuck off the ground, dude. So kind of a part of history.
Yeah, I bet. In fact, that's usually a big thing with crowdfunding. So I'm hoping you folks will engage that part of the spectrum as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to close out with the trailer, which the video editing was by my co-editor in IronVerse Comics, Dog Coins, but the wonderful music is Laguna Munta's. You can grab that track, which I believe is called Ambush at Coyote's Pass, probably on Bandcamp as well, correct?
Yes.
All right, so you can grab that there, and I will see you on that rusty IronVerse Comics trail. Thank you folks so very much for making this the best stream I've probably had on this channel. You folks
Thanks to everybody for coming, and thanks, Cody.
Oh, you're so very welcome. All right, folks. See you later.